There is a reason that 3% of the population hold 97% of the value in the world. This is because they are making the decisions in opposites to what everyone else is doing. What if I could describe the perfect investor psychology, but it was the total opposite of what you thought it was? Most people think to be a successful investor, they need to be always following what everyone is doing and try to go with the trend. You see this a lot with altcoins. With altcoins, people are just looking for a trend that everyone is talking about. They will jump into that trend and they will try to follow what everyone is doing. I'm here to tell you that the actual perfect investor psychology is the total opposite of what everyone else is doing. To actually follow that psychology, what you need to do is see what everyone is doing and then take the exact opposite actions. Only a small percentage of people are actually making money with Bitcoin, and that is because they are taking the decisions in opposites to what everyone is doing. If everyone is buying an asset, that means there is a potential for a bubble. I don't mean this across the board. Obviously, there is circumstances where you need to look into it and see what is happening at that current time. But most of the time, if everyone is taking a specific action, be that a purchase or a sell, there is a very strong likelihood that you should be doing the opposite, because if everyone is taking an action, not everyone is going to make money. There is no way that 97% or 99% of people are going to make money doing a specific action. Most people, for example, in Bitcoin will buy and then sell way too soon. They'll buy and sell over the short term, which is just not a good plan. For example, to take the opposite action of that, you would buy and then hold for a long period of time and then sell and take profits whenever you feel like doing that. You don't need to sell all of it as well. You should always hold back some in Bitcoin, because as we know, Bitcoin will continue to appreciate against assets that are not capped in supply, such as fiat currency. And you can look at trends via social media. You can look at charts to see, such as volumes, to see what everyone is doing in a particular asset class. You can use these things, these resources, to just see what the trend is. And a good resource to use would be the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Some people call it the cryptocurrency Fear and Greed Index, but this is just a chart where you can look to see how everyone is feeling. If everyone is absolutely total in greed mode, where everyone is just buying, purchasing crypto, they just want to buy, they don't want to sell anything, this means that you should do the opposite and consider looking at selling the cryptocurrency if you have a position in cryptocurrency. If it is a case where you have Bitcoin, I wouldn't recommend selling all of it, because then you will be back to square one and you will probably not get back the same amount of Bitcoin as you had before. But if it's a case where absolutely everyone is doing an action and you are walking around in public and everyone is telling you to do one specific thing, it's probably likely that you should do the opposite. And make sure that what most people who don't understand cryptocurrency or have not researched it, if that group of people are taking a specific action all together at the one time, it probably means that you should do the opposite again. And this is just a psychology that will continue throughout any asset class, really, be that Bitcoin, be that stocks. It all runs in cycles. When a big, large group of people move into an asset, usually the percentage gains will already be gone. This is not the case when it comes to an asset like Bitcoin, because we are still early in the growth phase of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created back in 2009 and we are about 15-16 years out from that time now, and we are still actually early in the long time frame mindset. And you should just try and focus on keeping a longer time frame mindset, because the biggest problem I see, if I was to try and name one, is just people having a too short-term mindset. And this could be said for the case of investing in stocks or cryptocurrency, but obviously I focus on Bitcoin and what happens in the Bitcoin space, and it is extremely prevalent in Bitcoin where people just continue to sell too soon because they see the price go down, and they're afraid that the price is going to fall even more whenever it does take a dip in price. And what I see is that when Bitcoin does take a dip, and it does do that because Bitcoin has volatility, that's very common. But when Bitcoin takes a dip, everyone usually will sell because they're afraid that the price is going to fall more. This is an example of when you can use the opposite mindset. At that stage, when Bitcoin takes a big dip in price, usually the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index will be at a strong fear number in that index if you were to look at the chart. And if everyone is selling because they're afraid to lose even more money, but it's not realized money, they're afraid to sell because they don't want to lose more money. But what they really need to do is use the opposite mindset psychology and say, if everyone is selling, then potentially I should be buying. Look at other circumstances as to what are happening. Don't use a short-term mindset, because that is what everyone does. Use a long-term mindset. Make sure you are just checking what is happening at that time and do your research. Over the long term, if you've done the opposite to everyone each time, you will be in a much better place over the long term. Since I started researching Bitcoin, I've seen that most people lose money because they just make the wrong decisions, and the decision they are making is taken from not the research that they've put in themselves, but the research that they have just been following what everyone else is doing. If you put in the research yourself, you won't be following what everyone else is doing, and you will just use the information that you have to make the decision. And I can tell you that if you do the research yourself, usually you will make the decision that is in opposite of what everyone else is doing. This is going to help you in your investing career.